Hey everybody, this is Dan with Pain Free You. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Irit Noble from South Africa, Cape Town. And she has graciously volunteered to share her success with the community here. And so, Irit, welcome. If you would,
Thank you.
introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right into the success story, and you can kind of give us a rundown of your journey. So, welcome. What would you like?
Thank you, Dan. And hello. I'm so excited to be talking to you and to be connecting with your community because the way I've got onto this interview with you is because I left a comment. Um, and the response, the way people responded, I was like, wow, okay, it's all going down in the comment section here. So yeah, I'm very happy to meet any of you who are watching.
Awesome. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? Um,
So the message that I left for you, I think, was something like, thank you very much for all your wonderful content. It helped me so much and on my self-healing journey. So I'm going to quickly take you through just the past 5 years, just so that to give you an overview. 5 years ago, on my birthday, I was driven to this little tiny town called Darling outside of Cape Town. It's about an hour away from Cape Town, where I was living at the time. I was so sick. I didn't know that I was sick. I thought I was just a loser. That's what I thought. I thought my best days are behind me. I am staggering to the grave on like one leg. Please, God, get me there sooner rather than later. Make it of natural causes so that, nobody gets too upset, but get me out of here. But at the time, I had a gig. I'd been an entertainer. I'd been in the entertainment industry since I was 19 years old as a comic entertainer, a stand-up comic, an MC, a speaker. I did TV, I did radio. I was the it girl. But by the time I came to Darling that first day, I was an absolute shadow of myself. So I came here because they had this festival where every entertainer, so it was like I think it was a 3 day festival where every entertainer did 3 shows a day of 20 minutes. So I arrived here, went to my host's house, and literally I was in bed. Then I got up, did my show, came back to bed, stayed there, got up, did another show, went back to bed, and that was it. And the whole time, I didn't know I was genuinely ill. So I was just medicating. I was having double espressos, all kinds of anything, basically anything that I could to keep me on my feet. And and at the time, my stuff, I had just moved out of this tiny, it was 3 meters by 2.7 meters little interim home I was staying in. And I had to take all my stuff out of that place, put it behind the building, wrapped in plastic in one of the most dangerous areas in Cape Town, literally behind a block of flats.
right.
Anybody could have found it. And I was here for 3 days with my stuff. And I knew when I got back, I had to get all of that stuff into another place. So my head was all over the place. I had incredible brain fog and a lot of pain in my body. Anyway, I managed to finish the show. And 6 weeks later, I was back in Darling with a truckload full of my stuff and a house. Here, booked sight unseen, the most gorgeous little house. And that was so I came here on my birthday. 6 weeks later, I moved to Darling, and that was in 2018. By the time I got here, I was stick thin. I looked about 75 years old. I was stooped. I was just literally, like they say, a shadow of your former self. Like I was a shadow. People wouldn't even have recognized me actually if they'd seen me. And in 2019, after dragging myself around, by this stage, I was doing social media for other people from my bed. I was no longer entertaining. Already by the time I'd gotten here, that was just a fluke. I hadn't been entertaining for a good couple of years already, but, you know, they managed to drag me here and I managed to do it. Dan, yes?
So what type of symptoms were you experiencing that led you to be stooped and, spending all your time resting? I mean, what were you dealing with?
I was dealing with extreme fatigue, brain fog that had me behind a wall. The fatigue was the worst, and it blanketed everything else. So I also had a lot of physical pain, all over, joint pain. My hair was falling out. I had so many symptoms, from skin stuff to my hips were so sore at night that if I was to turn around at night, I would have to wake up fully and use my hands to turn my body over. My hips were so sore. I'd been in hospital in 2016, had a full hysterectomy, many complications, thought that was going to cure it, dragged myself through 2017 to 2018. It was just over years, I just got worse and worse and worse. But because I'd been to so many doctors in my 20s, my entire 20s and my 30s, from 23 years old to 40 years old, I was at the doctor. Then I moved in with a doctor and I thought, fine, I don't need doctors anymore. It was a psychiatrist, but first they have to study to be GPs. So he also diagnosed me with a couple of other illnesses nicely before we left each other. But those, I don't think that those were strictly necessarily true. But in 2019, I finally got a diagnosis after 28 years. Sorry, my clock. After 28 years of symptoms, I finally got a diagnosis. And the diagnosis was autoimmune disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and Sjogren's syndrome. Then, because I finally had a diagnosis, of course, the first thing I do is I go onto YouTube. I'm not a Google girl, I'm a YouTube girl. And I YouTubed everything to do with any kind of autoimmune disease. And I learned a lot. And what I self-diagnosed after that was chronic fatigue syndrome or Hashimoto's or something. So when the doctor told me, it was on the phone, because the doc, I think it took them 12 days. They sent the blood tests back 2 or 3 times because there was just so much to weed through, I suppose, you know. And when I walked into the doctor's office, I mean, I had a laundry list, and I know that some of you relate. I had a list like this. I've got this wrong with me, that wrong with me, tick, 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 like all of these things. In fact, okay, so the doctor told me on the phone, eventually she said, it is autoimmune disease. You've got Sjogren's syndrome and rheumatoid arthritis. And as she was talking, she started telling me that I have to go to a rheumatologist, that I have to go to this specialist and that specialist. And I remember her voice just kind of went into the distance. And all I heard her say was, this is incurable, and you are going to have to be on chemotherapy medication for the rest of your life. And I said to her, will you stick with me if I try and heal myself with diet? And she said no. And I understood why. Not her area, not her field of expertise. But this little stick, what the little bit of life I had left in me, I was like, there is no way. You know that poem, I Will Not Go Gently? I thought, there's no way. One, I couldn't afford medicine, and now I'm going to pay for medicine when I was already so sick. And I understood from what I researched about methotrexate. And I just want to preface this whole thing by saying the choices I made were my choices. I made these choices based on the inspiration and the instinct and that little voice inside me.
Right.
Okay? I understand the place of Western medicine. I have used it before, and I am sure if I ever need it, I will use it again. But I made the decision to not take it because I was so bad already. I was like, how much worse can this get? Let me tell you, chemotherapy medication is going to make it worse. So I thought, I am going to take the money that I'm being advised to spend on medicine, and I'm going to spend that on food because, honey, all I can afford is food right now, barely.
Right.
So let my food be my medicine.
Right.
And that is what I did. Year one, hardcore. First thing I did was I'd already given up sugar. I'd already given up grains. I went on the Paleolithic. Basically, for 3 months, I experimented with diet. So I played and played and played. And then eventually I found the diet that worked for me. And I was off to the races. First year, hardcore diet, hardcore. Second year, once my body started to come right and the symptoms came right, it wasn't a quick fix. It wasn't a quick. It's for me, I've had miracles and I've had leaps and bounds of healing, but it wasn't a quick fix. Diet continued, and then the mental issues really they started to become more apparent because the brain fog slowly went down. The brain fog was the last thing to heal. I had amazing things heal. I was losing all feeling in my right hand. I could still use it to type, thank goodness, but it was numb almost up until the elbow. That took a few months to come right. Things came right in their own order. The body has an incredible innate intelligence. And when I took away all the foods that were irritating it and the drugs, because I was on drugs.
Right.
I was coping, I was self-medicating. So the mental issues, and then in the third year, which was 2022, then my spirit started to come alive, and when my spirit started to come alive, the work that I was doing as a social media manager started to hurt. Then I started to experience pain again. I believe because the God of my understanding, the universe that I relate to, was speaking through me and telling me, you're not meant to do this anymore. So I got sciatica from being on. I was on my digital device and on my laptop all day working to make other people's dreams come true. So the pain started to get me, and it was so bad. And that was last year this time. And that was when I discovered TMS. So the first person, I actually had to, I did make a few notes because especially when I'm talking or I'm in the spotlight, then my brain just goes all over the show. So my friend Lucretia, who was the person who introduced me to the diet that saved me and who has introduced me to so many things, she's very intellectual, and she was studying TMS, but really studying it, and I just love, Dan, that you've changed it to, or not changed it, but evolved to perceived danger pain, because that's exactly what was going on with me. My body was just going, and it was alarming me. And instead of listening to my body, I tried to shut my body up, and yeah, it was, anyway, when I'd already, because of the mental work that I started doing, was to do with mindfulness. So once my body started to heal and I was able to think a little bit more clearly, I realized it's all up here. This is it. The calls are coming from inside the house. It's you. Like, so I started to work again with calming myself down. And this was also all as a result of journaling, writing, doing writing work. I read something that I'd written again in 2018, and that was all to do with learning how to still my mind, because I'm a little bit like, already, but with all of these other things, let's just say I'm a bit of a character. I was basically in danger when I was so sick. I was in danger of becoming like that little old lady, that character, that everybody's like, oh God, you don't want to see her in the supermarket like she's a bit cuckoo. But it was just because I have a lot of spirit and it comes through. And when I was shriveled. And as I started to come back to life, things like TMS came, and it slotted in so well, because along with the pain would come a lot of panic and anxiety. And that, like, oh, I'm in pain. And it was that pain that caused me to eventually start taking Western medicine again, because when I went on my clean diet, my elimination diet, it was like everything must go, Sale. Everything must go. I stopped using shampoo, toothpaste, anything on my skin, no nail polish, no makeup, what else? Everything, no medicine, nothing whatsoever. The only thing I wasn't able to give up was caffeine. And it'll come anyway. So yeah, getting into TMS and having Lucretia to break it down for me, because I'm not an intellectual. I'm highly, highly intelligent, but I'm not an intellectual. I don't care about the science. Break it down for me so that I understand it. I'll go into it and I'll listen to everybody. And I'm very happy to get like an anecdotal. That's what I like. Tell me the stories, So to kind of wrap that up, last year, before I got into TMS, actually, I got my blood test results, and my blood is 100% clear. 100%. There is no autoimmune disease in my body. And funnily, around the time that I learned that was when the sciatica kicked in, because my brain was saying to me, we're not out of the woods. You have got some changes to make. And the sciatica lasted 3 months, went away for a bit, and came back. And in the second session of it, at the end of September, I got an epiphany. I was sitting at my computer working for somebody else. The project was going so badly that it was, when things go so badly, you just go, how can it be? I mean, I'm not an idiot. Everything was going, but you know how it felt. This was how I kept describing it, or this was what was in my mind. I felt like I was on a roller rink with oil. Somebody had thrown oil all over the roller rink and just a handful of gravel. So I was just like, I was skidding all over the show, and every now and again I would just fall. It was, and I had this pain. And at the end of September, I got a message from the universe, and it said to me, you, my girl, are going back on stage. You are going back out there to tell people who is going to give you permission. Are you waiting for permission to go back on stage as a speaker and as an entertainer? But as a speaker, is that because that is was my goal to get back on stage as a speaker. And anyway, to cut a long story short, this year I wrapped that client up. He finished at the end of December by his choice. Shame, I think he was really glad to get out of there as well. And I wrapped up the other clients that I had. And since then, I have just been praying and doing. I've started my YouTube channel. It's very new. It's probably a month ago that I eventually started putting up videos, because I spent this year being a complete Virgo, compulsive, obsessive, over controlling. And yesterday was my birthday. So it's exactly 5 years since this whole thing started. And the day before yesterday, I was 55, but I'm now at level 56. And I know that the work, Dan, that people like you who sit there and graft every day, I know it's not easy to every day. Sometimes you don't feel like it. You've made your commitment and you come out to serve, and you bring us that information that is just so simple and so beautifully interpreted. And you are the kind of teacher that has brought me to here today, from this little praying mantis of a thing, you know, to here I am. So check out my channel. It's at Irit Noble. Like, this is I want to be like you, Dan. I'll never grow up, but I want to be like you. Like, I want to be able to take my story and share it in a way that people can understand that it can happen for them too. You know, it's not easy, but it is simple. It's one step in front of the next. So that's my story.
Oh, a couple of questions for you to see if we can bring this all
Yes.
together. Symptom wise, are you feeling good?
I have no symptoms, Dan. I have no symptoms. What I do have is mental issues,
Okay.
anxiety, particularly. And that's why when your video came up the other day, out of the blue, by the way, I haven't had one of your videos come up for so long because I haven't needed them. And when your video came up, I saw it and I was like, anxiety, come, you need to use this for anxiety. And I can feel it even now. It's like, it's sitting here, you know, and that is a physical issue. And I know that when I lose that one, I know that something else will come up.
Well, anxiety is just another symptom created by a brain perceiving danger. So treat it just like the pain. It's no different.
Exactly.
Less attention, less fear, little to no concern. Okay, so I'm feeling anxiety. So what? That will fade away as well, because anxiety, in my impression, comes from a whole system that is on high alert, always looking out for danger. Something bad's going to happen. That's that gut feel, is like an impending sense of doom. And yeah, I don't believe anxiety needs a whole nother approach. I think everything that I teach in my channel for pain, other symptoms, also equally applies to anxiety. And for anybody who has depression, primarily about symptoms, I say, don't worry about the depression. That'll solve itself. Let's work on the symptoms. And we're not even working on the symptoms. We're working on the fear. We're recovering from fear. Once the brain realizes we're not afraid, there's no danger, the whole system settles down. When the symptoms go, guess what happens to the depression about the symptoms? Poof, that goes away. But the anxiety, I will just tell you right now, focus on the safety aspect, that you're actually okay. You're not in danger. You don't have a mental issue. Anxiety is a state of being. Right.
Well, you know, Dan, I realized the other day, and this has really set me free, is that currently I do not have one issue that money couldn't solve. And that means I do not have one issue. Right. That's what I've been telling myself, because I have been left with it's taken me a while to get back on my feet, and the finances. And that's another thing. I know that there was so much lack mentality pressed forth into me in my formative years, that's what's causing the anxiety. So allowing the anxiety to release, then the feelings of lack mentality come up. And what I've been doing with mindfulness practice is going, instead of going, push the feelings down, I go, okay, come. Yes, oh, I understand. Of course you're feeling that. Of course you're feeling that. But come, let's go out. Come, you see, this is okay. Look at this, look at that, look at that, look at that. And every time I allow the feeling to come up, and oh, Dan, it's so uncomfortable.
Right.
Sometimes it feels like it's coming up with burrs on because it's hooked. It wants to live in me. It wants to live in me. It's been comfortable there for so long. And I know that the autoimmune disease was my body's way of saying, slow down. You need to think, you need to heal. But I pummeled on.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. And so now at level 56, is the time I've been spending these past couple of years slowly getting to that stage where I can allow my feelings to come up, and be recognized and be heard.
Yeah. So what I'll point out is that all of this stuff is created by the brain. Even the autoimmune, the body is dysregulated because when we are in the stress response, and you were clearly in that for a long while, fight or flight, the stress response, when we're in that place, the brain suppresses things that are not essential for survival in the immediacy. So if you are out in the woods and there's, an animal, a lion, you're going to launch into the stress response. Your eyes will dilate, your breathing will quicken, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your arms and legs fill with oxygenated blood so you can run like mad or fight like crazy if you had to, right? That's the stress response. It's a survival mode. But while you're in that mode, do you think you need to worry about your immune system or digestion? No, you're trying to get away from this lion.
Right.
So if we're in the chronic state of stress in this fight or flight, the immune system can be suppressed for a long while. And that will allow something like an autoimmune condition to come together. And so when we get out of that stress response, the immune system can return to balance, and things like autoimmune issues can start to be relieved. I think you probably did two things. You got out of the stress response, but you also cleaned up toxic foods, toxic products, and all sorts of things, which also gave your immune system an opportunity. My brother has rheumatoid arthritis, and unfortunately, so far, he's not approaching it from either angle. He's not looking at lifestyle, and he's not looking at the mindset and the getting out of stress. He's a high stress guy, and his lifestyle is not exactly great. And as a result, he's just sticking along with, the typical rheumatoid arthritis medications.
Yeah.
So, but it's I think you were able to resolve your RA because you took it from both sides. You cleared up your lifestyle stuff, got all the toxins out, bad foods, bad personal care products, you name it. But you also started feeling safer and safer that I'm really not sick. And as a result of getting out of that fight or flight, I think the whole system returned to balance. And that's why you're doing so well, in my opinion. But it all really starts up here. I know somebody's going to ask, and I hate to make this about diet. I know you got rid of all the junk food, the sugars, and all that kind of stuff. Was there a certain type of diet? Was it like a ketogenic, a paleo, vegetarian, vegan? What did you do that you credit? And this is not medical advice or nutrition advice. I'm just curious.
Right. Not a doctor, not a therapist, okay,
Not a
human
doctor.
being.
Right.
Just this is my lived experience. I've never spoken about this on a public platform, and I didn't know if I was going to.
You don't have to if you're uncomfortable with that. I'll give you that free
Let's just say that I was a vegetarian on and off my entire life. And for me, I believe that that had a large part to play in my autoimmune disease, because autoimmune disease begins in the gut. All disease begins in the gut. Don't even get me started. Okay, don't get me started. But let me just say one thing. I would like to say one thing to any doctor out there. The Hippocratic Oath was issued by Hippocrates, who told us that all disease begins in the gut. I am very confused as to why all the doctors I have seen in my life, and I've seen many, the doctors I have seen have not made the food connection and don't seem particularly interested from what I have experienced, okay? And I know I'm putting that out there. Please see your doctor. Please take the medical advice and listen to yourself as well. That's all I can say. Oof, this is such dangerous ground. But all I'll say is it was not a vegetarian diet. It was not a vegan diet. For me, meat heals. That's all I will say.
Okay.
Meat, fat,
Okay.
salt, water.
So you're singing my song because I'm very much an advocate of and a very strong believer that that is our natural species specific diet. Meat, salt, water, fat, right? Fatty meats. And when I do my best and I feel my best, I'm doing a strict carnivore diet. And I know that is very, very challenging.
Lucretia, do you hear this man? Just said a shout out.
And this is not medical advice, because a lot of people look at that and go, that's really extreme. What about the fruits? What about the veggies? And what I've learned through probably 4 years of research, we don't require those things. We can get everything we need out of meats. So we're going to leave it there because I don't want this to get into a dietary recommendation. However, anybody who is open to that, I feel my best when I'm eating strictly carnivore, no sugars, no carbs, no coffee. What else did I cut? No plants, whether it be fruits or veggies. I feel my best. My sinuses clear up. I don't snore. Literally, after days of doing this all meat, I don't snore. I sleep better. I have more energy. I'm not quite as hungry, because with carbs, you eat carbs, you're full, you're bloated, and then like 6 hours later, you're hungry again. And so everything about it works well for me. Everybody else has to make their own decision. But I'm going to be one of those people who's going to be like, go carnivore, go carnivore. There's plenty of people teaching that. But personally, I feel great when I eat that. So I kind of thought that's where you were going, because you're a little hesitant.
Because what else? Because what else can pump life blood back into a body that was so depleted? Oh, Dan, the sprouts I ate, the stomach I had, the tiny little stick of a woman with his tummy. All I can say about carnivore, I didn't have a poop in 3 years. I didn't make a little tiniest of little farts. I just want to say that, like, because my body wasn't fighting. So that's what I did. I went back to absolute cave woman style, you know, and I knew the whole time this is what I was sent to this planet, and I hate to say this, but to 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 face my challenges, and they have been many, to face them and then take what I've learned and break it down and offer that to people. And that's what I'm doing on my channel. I've literally taken like age-old things and I'm just breaking them down into like little 101s, because I believe that healing starts on the, I don't believe, I know healing starts on the inside. You know, there's an epidemic of suicide. Of people, I'm sorry, sorry, that was a bit trigger warning. There's an epidemic of people are, oh, people are struggling out there. People who look so successful, and why? Because it doesn't come from the outside. When you get it on the outside as well, oh, bonus! I'm gonna be so flashy again soon. I know it. I love all this stuff. I'm a magpie, you know. Things are beautiful. At the moment, I've got cats. I know you have too, Dan. How many cats have you got? Just the one black one?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, one black cat makes, that's, oh, I one day I'll have a black cat as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that the work starts on the inside, and I know that it's hard for people because you can't see, there's never a guarantee of the fact that you do the work. But oh man, we all are here with our bag of tools, and when we are strong and when we can pull one out and show each other and help each other sharpen our tools, or that's what we're here to do. And yeah, I wish I could just, but nobody could shake me. I had to walk my own journey, and I thought my life was over, and it wasn't. And now I feel like, I mean, I do have a bit of a filter on. So if anybody's looking at me going, she's 56, I do have a little bit of a filter because I am vain, and until I can afford, never mind. But yeah, but genuinely, the mental, without doing the mental work, it's none of the trappings, nothing is, it doesn't matter. I've got to have a strong body. And thank you, Meet, for doing that, and to all the teachers who were online helping me and see me through, and my teacher who saw me through it, Lucretia, who I happen to have mentioned once or twice. But the diet, if you say it starts on the inside, the diet started on the inside here, and then slowly, like, my heart and my head got involved. And I am doing the TMS work on the anxiety. And I'm also saying to God, listen, if you throw me a couple of shekels, but I know that's the thing, is the anxiety. It needs to be met. It has to be met. And that's why I know that when it is met, and I have sorted it out with whatever mental work I can do, and whatever I'm guided, and then the odd little miracle drops in just to help me and boost me.
Yeah.
I know that something else will come up. And I'm ready to meet that as well.
So again, most of the things that I speak about on a daily basis, whether it be chronic pain, other chronic symptoms, digestive issues, headaches, reflux, body pains, you name it, are just warning signals coming from a brain that's perceiving danger. So anxiety is nothing more than your brain not feeling safe, and it kind of creates this response, stress hormones, cortisol, and that feels like a physical sensation, and that goes along with the worrisome, anxious thoughts. But perceived danger is really the core issue there. So safety is the solution, and it does get that simple. So you were saying you've got some money anxieties just because you're kind of relaunching your performing and all that kind of stuff. You're not doing as much of the social media anymore. But there's some anxiety there that's driven by the stories behind, I'm going to need some money pretty soon. And so, focusing on safety, creating safety, uh, I believe is going to resolve the anxiety for you.
And when I say, like, I bring my feelings out and I give them a little cuddle. That's because I didn't do that my entire life. And I was a traumatized child. I was abandoned. I was emotionally abused. And I never looked at any of that until in my late 40s. I started to write about it. And I realized I'd never shared these stories with a therapist. So my whole life, and especially being on stage, and she's the center of attention. And, I fed off all these other things. And that's why the disease came up, to go, hey, if you don't resolve it this lifetime, you are going to have to work on this next lifetime. So sort it out now. And it took me, I felt like a puppy, man. The universe just put my nose in it, and that's why now I am allowing it to come up. And it's not about like, oh, come here, anxiety, I know why you're anxious. It's more about, okay, I can feel that come out. And as I say, it's not pretty. I have had some screaming matches with the universe here. Well, not matches, just me pissing into the abyss, excuse my language, but just like, but it's because it's all coming out and I'm allowing it to come out. And once it come out, then it comes back up again. But each time it's a little bit diminished, or it's got a little surprise, like another extra little facet added to it. And I don't believe this work is ever done, but at least let us be doing the work. Because it's a harsh school. It's what I was asking the universe the other day. I was like, oh, wait, hold on a second. Is this how it goes? We meant to feel our feelings, but yet we meant to create a better future by not feeling our feelings. What's going on? It's everything just seems to be this. There's so many dichotomies. I can't. I can only wake up every morning, cuddle my cats, get my head as right as I can, and take inspired action.
Yeah, I believe there's the two things that we can directly control is our expectations and our response. What happens in the middle, right? We were joking earlier. What happens, right? What happens with my symptoms happens. Whatever happens with my anxiety happens. But we can control our expectations, which is our view of what's going to happen in the future, right? People say, oh, I'm not good at visualization. You don't have to be good at visualization, but you're already good at visualization because anytime you're thinking about something in the future, you are visualizing.
You're rehearsing, yes.
But the problem is when you are kind of consumed by mental health, physical health challenges, pain, symptoms, our view of the future is very much clouded and viewed through the lens of that pain and that anguish. And so our vision of the future, the thing we are visualizing, is more despair and suffering, as opposed to, well, I'm going to expect the best because one of my core messages here is there's nothing wrong with us. Obviously, life has struggles, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual struggles, but there's really nothing wrong with us that we need to fix, and it's really just a matter of teaching the brain that fact. And when the brain gets that and says, you mean we're okay? The whole system settles down, calms down. You get out of the stress response. Your thoughts can slow down. And when you expect the best, and if symptoms come along, whatever happens, and symptoms show up or anxiety shows up, how you choose to respond, Irit, is massively important towards whether or not you're going to confirm the brain's perception of danger or say, nah, don't worry about it. We're actually okay, brain. We're good. Expectations, response. What happens in the middle, we don't directly control. Why? Because that comes out of the subconscious and we don't control the subconscious. But with proper expectations and how we respond, over time, we influence the subconscious to go, oh, we don't need to be so vigilant today. We can be on lower state of high alert. We can turn down the alarm system a bit and turn down the detection system considerably as well. So those are just some of my thoughts that kind of fit into what we've been talking about.
But that's exactly what you were saying earlier. You kind of made, I think you kind of did that. You went like something about hypervigilance. That's exactly what I was saying in one of my videos the other day. It's like the anxiety is just like this the whole time. It's just like danger, 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 danger. And it's driving, and yeah, it's there is healing. It doesn't feel like it when one is in it, but it's like big boy pants, it really is. Sometimes I just, and I've learned to not just, I was an addict for many years. I was also in recovery for many years, but drinking and whatever, partying and whatever, but it was all just to keep my brain, just to keep my shut up, shush, 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 and now I'm just so much more aware when I'm shushing my brain, and I'll even go, you know what, I don't feel like doing the work. Just shut up for a minute. Just leave me alone. I don't feel like doing the healing work right now. I also allow myself to be a sulky, tantremic little toddler sometimes, because I wasn't allowed to be that when I was young. So we feeling all the feelings right now. It's all coming up, but I am feeling safer and safer. And I know that it is a conscious effort. It is a conscious effort. And we have to keep ourselves reminded, and we have to keep connected with each other, because that's the thing. Only when I got onto social media, onto Facebook, onto YouTube, when I had my diagnosis, I realized, it's not just me. I'm not the only one walking around in a dwell. I can't even think straight. I can't have a conversation. I'm in so much pain. It's not just me. And that was 5 years ago. So, 4 years ago. So I walked around my whole life from the age of 23 was when I had my first episode. My first, what I later learned is called a flare, autoimmune flare. And even that is so alarming, a flare. It will incinerate you. Yeah. So TMS is like a beautiful mister, like that just you can just mist it a little bit, you might not douse the flame, but oh my goodness me, to have that tool, it's so practical. It's cooling. You can just cool it,
Well,
cool it. Hey, cool it.
TMS, perceived danger, pain, perceived danger response, which is essentially the symptoms. It's very calming because it's accurate. It's what's really going on, because a lot of people feel I'm broken. Look at my MRI, look at my blood test, this. But at the end of the day, the brain's the control center for everything. And yes, I will agree that the gut is a second brain. A lot of things happen down there. But I don't spend time there because that lends people to believe I have to fix it in the gut. So I'm going to take probiotics, supplements, all sorts of things, and spend hundreds of dollars a month and 12 pills a day, 1,500 pills a day, whatever you want to do. I don't believe for most things. Now, I will say on the rheumatoid arthritis, lifestyle and the mind-body stuff together is a wonderful package. You've proven that. But for most people who've got just like other symptoms, this mind-body work will eliminate the pain by itself. And I see that all the time because I'm not a nutrition guy on my channel and in my audience. I don't speak of it a lot. I've dropped hints about the meat-only diet recently, and I haven't even been consistent with that, right? go on and off of it, and my weight goes up and down by about 10 or 15 pounds as a result of eating more crappy foods and eating better. And when I get sick of myself eating poorly and gaining weight, then I go back to this. But every time I'm on it, boy, do I feel fantastic. So I'm back on it for about 2 weeks now. And I eat mostly meat anyway. It's just I have some extras that aren't ideal. But yeah, I don't really get into it too much. I'm really focused on the mind-body work that teach the brain we're safe. The brain will take care of the rest. And I truly believe that's the case. So any last words of advice for anybody listening?
Well, I'm just thinking about what you just said. You know, when I got the diagnosis, my brain felt safe enough to start looking for an answer. And I had already been in bed for a couple of years, hey? So for me, the diet as my body was really, really ravaged, you know. And like I say, there was alcohol and some even chemicals involved because I was literally just self-medicating. And that's why I won't go out there guns blazing and say, everybody needs to do what I did. Everybody needs to listen to their medical professionals and their inner voice. And I know, you see, we kind of preaching to the choir because everybody who's watching this already has an understanding of that. But I'm planning to go out there and maybe not share the meat story because it is such a delicate story, because there are so many reasons, you know, and all my evidence is anecdotal, as I say. So please, if you want to make comments and ask me specific things, I'm not going to be able to answer. I can't tell you about cholesterol. I can't tell you about the fiber. I can't tell you anything scientific. All I can tell you is that's what worked for me. And I do believe that my job on this planet, because I had a big chat with God on the full moon, and let me tell you, that full moon was the night before my birthday, and I howled. I howled at the moon. Oh, it came out. Oh, it came out so nice. I'll tell you what, my cats, I've got 5 cats. They all sleep with me on the bed. Not one of them. They were gone. And the next morning, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got up and I noticed not a single cat on my bed. And I got up and I came downstairs, and they were all downstairs, and they were all looking at me like this. And I had to go to each one of them and say, Mommy's fine, Mommy's fine, Mommy's fine. There were some monsters that just had to come out. And like the full moon just helped me to release that. But I'm just trying to be an authentic person and to tell you I am having to lessen my perfectionism, you know, at myself, and just go, this is my story. So check out my YouTube channel. It's at IRIT NOBLE, Irit Noble, and that's my name. I'm back from the dead. Okay, so let's play together. I'm back from the dead, you know, and I'm here for at least another 20 years. So let's do this thing. And Dan, I'm so grateful to chat to you.
56. You've got way more than 20 years left.
56. I don't really know that I want them.
Okay.
You know, I'm here for the duration. I don't know if I want to be like, you know, kind of, I don't know. Let's, you know what? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Exactly.
But for now, I want to tell people that it's not like there is hope. Why only me? You know? Why only me? Why only Dan? Why you know, why only other people? We all have that spark of life in us. It's like that it's like a little plant. It can be on the outside completely dead, but it's still got root. And if you can bring it back and you see that tiny little first fluorescent green shoot come peeping out, that's when you know, carry on. Okay.
Listen, I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks, Dan.
Turns and twists into the food. And for anybody who's doing that and feels like, oh no, do I have to do that? The answer is generally no, because the vast majority of my success stories, and we never talk about food, and people are getting well with the messages of safety, teaching the brain we're actually okay. So don't feel like the food is mandatory. If you do have autoimmune things going on and you'd like to consider it, that is something you can research. The term is carnivore diet. There's tons of information out there now, and it's growing. There's a community that keeps on growing and growing. More people are doing it, success stories all over the place, but it's not mandatory to eliminate the vast majority, I would say the vast majority of TMS, perceived danger, pains, and symptoms. So don't get twisted by this discussion and feel like, oh no, I got to change my diet. Because many people have gone down these elimination diet paths and have failed completely.
Okay.
So I don't want this to create more food fear, because that's not the goal here. So in any event, we'll wrap it up there. Irit, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. And also, I just want to say that even if you do the food thing, it's not, go for it, but you've got to do the mental stuff, because that's where the joy is. That's where the happiness is. That's where the inspiration comes through, when I can.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Lots of love. Thank you.
Your journey, and thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
Blessings.